There's a very famous quote that when the big tree falls, the earth shakes. And since our childhood days, we have also heard about one statement that says that when two elephants fight, that the grass has to suffer. We term this grass as a collateral damage. And there is a very, very famous quote as well, which says that war does not decide who is right, but who is left. Good morning, everybody. My name is Harish Kumar, and today I'm going to talk about this the person who are left after this war. These are refugees, and my topic will be refugee crisis, an invisible war against the humanity. Before I proceed with this, I would like to introduce whom we call refugees. Someone who has been forced to flee his or her country due to persecution, war, violence. UN define this refugee in a very different way. They say that is a someone who has a well-founded fear of persecution related to race, religion, being a part of any political group, being a part of any social group, and internal displacement is also a reason. We have been seeing many wars for many many years, but the world has taken a lot of time to understand the pain of the people, to shed tears for these people, and I think this is the time because we have been seeing that around us so many wars are happening, and so many refugees been caused by them. Uh, Now I would like to talk about the types of refugees which we have been seeing. First, I will talk about the war refugees. Since World War One, we have seen the crisis. In World War One, there was 12.1 million kind of refugees, and World War Two caused 60 million. And afterwards, Iraq War happened, Vietnam War happened, and then Rohingya crisis. We have also seen that in recently event. If I talk about that, due to Russia-Ukraine war, there's so many refugees. There has become Syrian war. Uh, it has caused the largest refugee crisis in the world, near about 60 lakh people. And on the other side, recently Israel-Gaza war has called 20 lakh people to flee their country. And what sort of condition they are living, I think the world is not bothered about, and I think they should be. And the another type of refugees are called persecuted one, like the person who are persecuted on the ground of race, like we have seen the past history. If I go, Hitler used to do this against the Jews because they did not belong to any particular Aryan race. They didn't have the blue-eyed boys, and Hitler didn't like that, and that is why they were persecuted on the ground of race. They're also persecuted on the ground of religion as well. We have seen that what is the condition of Ahmadiyya Muslim in the Pakistan, and recently 2 lakh refugees were uh, sent back from Pakistan towards the Afghanistan. So this is the condition, and in some countries, economic crisis also cause the refugees, like the Venezuela. Internal displacement is also a reason for the refugees. In India, we have seen that in 1992 when exodus of Kashmiri Pandit happened. 1984, in the riots, so many people were displaced from their places, and there was also recently we can say Manipur. There were 30 to 40,000 people who are already living in the temporary shelters. So we can understand. And there are one more term has been brought in, that's environmental refugees, that we can call it climate refugees. The problem is that the UN does not recognize them, and they do not have the legal status to claim themselves as the refugees. But it's a bigger trouble. If you take the example of Indonesia, they had to change their capital to Nusantara, all because of their capital city was drowning. And if I talk about the Sudan war, this is the only war which happened due to water crisis when the Sudan and the South Sudan are fighting for the for a lake. Now comes the main problem. What problem these people are facing? If I quote recent example in July 2024, where 89 people died by capsized in the boat near the Mauritania coast, trying to reach to the European nations. And there was also an incident which really stirred the emotion of the whole world. That was Alan Kurdi's example I would like to give. The kid was found dead on the coast of Turkey. He belonged to Syria, and that stirred the emotion of many people. And afterwards, some of the country opened their border for the refugees as well. But other things they are facing: human trafficking, gender-based violence is happening with the women. And in 2007, if I talk about, when when Israel versus Hamas fight happened, some of the persons, some of the kids were there who had to flee from their places, and they took the shelter in the Lebanon. And later on, these kids, after this persecution kind of thing, they became terrorists. Now the Hamas, which we see, that most of them are the same kids of that time. And on the other side, we have also seen that the education problem, because some of the kids get deprived of their education all because of their persecution, and they have to leave their places. Now the problem comes: who is responsible for this? I think the whole world is responsible for this. When I term this we, it means whole world. This 8.2 billion people, they all are responsible for this, because whenever a war happens, we start taking the sides. Okay, some people start supporting Israel, some people start supporting Iran. Nobody is bothered about these people. They all are interested in taking the sides, because all countries are also having their own vested interests, which suits them. They take their sides. And then UN is also very much responsible, because we have seen the UN has become a toothless tiger. It doesn't have any solution for this veto system, and people are developing a xenophobic attitude. Mostly in the European, we have seen the right wingers rise, all because of that, because they do not want any refugees to in their country. And recently, UK Rwanda deal, where they have said that okay, this refugee and asylum seeker will be sent to Rwanda in inhuman condition. They have to live, but nobody wants to keep them, because they are the only responsible, but they don't want to have them in their country. Now, when I talk about the solution, I think if this world can pay for the war, and I think this world also can pay for their resettlement as well, because we can create a global refugee fund where the whole world pays for it, and afterwards we can think about the reconstruction, resettlement. And there are certain areas also which are inhabited in the world, like the Russia, the big territories there, nobody lives there. If I talk about America, also Australia, Canada, there's so many the big places there where nobody lives. So I think that area can be made to livable for these people. That also can be done in that sense. And I think UN reforms is also very much important, because certain countries need to be brought in, like the India, Brazil, and the Japan, who have the pacifist kind of attitude. And there are two treaties: 1951 Convention is there, 1967 Protocol is there, but these are not legally binding. I think these should be made legally binding. And when we talk about the role of India, is also very much important, because India is not a signatory to this convention, the protocol, but still India has proved that yes, we do respect the human beings. If I talk about the Indian Constitution, which provide Article 14, Article 21, which talks about that yes, irrespective of your citizenship, uh, human right has to be saved. They need to be protected. And there were two cases happen in India. One was NHRC versus Arunachal Pradesh in 1996, where court said that under Article 21, you need to respect the rights of the human beings. And then another case come, Dian Leng Khem case in 2016, where the Supreme Court had specifically said that we need to bring non-refoulement policy under Article 21, which says that if any refugee comes to a country, you cannot send them back because he is coming due to persecution. And on the other side, in recently judgment, if I talk about the climate refugee as well, Supreme Court in this judgment has said that yes, right against the climate change. That's a very positive kind of step Indian government court has taken. So we can see that. And if you see the past history of India, we have always managed the refugees. If I talk about 1947, there was an exodus of people. We very bravely saved it. And afterwards, in 1971, when Bangladesh war happens, Chakma refugees came to our country. We settled them. In Tamil Sri Lanka crisis, we saved them. And recently in Afghanistan case, so many refugees came to our country and we saved them. Overall, if I talk about that, there are about 2,50,000 refugees are registered with country, and other are also which are unregistered. So in the last, I would like to say that nobody leaves this country until the country is the mouth of a shark. Sometimes we consider them as a terrorist, but sometimes it may be possible that they are the first victim of the terrorism. As the Dalai Lama says that love and compassion are necessities, not luxuries. If you do not offer them, it goes against the very purpose of humanity. If humans cannot stand for the humans, then I don't understand who will be standing up for them. And in the last, I would like to say that if this war is happening at the far door, it may come to your at your next door as well. Today you are terming somebody as a refugee. Tomorrow you may be termed as a refugee. So don't be a bystander. And I think we should not be falling into this mindless discussion of which country will win, which country will lose, and which country has the more power, which country doesn't have the power. It will be very fruitful to talk about that which country has the power to raise the voice of these voiceless people. And when I think we all are equally responsible, directly or indirectly. We should agree or not agree, but that's the hardcore reality. And the time has come when whole world has to bring a resolution in the UN and has to come out firmly on the ground that yes, we need to take care of the refugees first, because we cannot make humans as an alien on this earth to live and live in a very hell kind of condition. Thank you.
Harish, what moral obligations do wealthy nations have towards refugees?
Yes, sir. So they have a moral obligation because most of the wars are happening with the support of settling the scores between the Russia and the Ukraine. If any war, if I take the example of, if one side there is the Russia, another side there is automatically the America comes, and they support the war, and sometimes they support the terrorist organization as well. If I talk about the Iraq example only, and ISIS was made by the Americans, and later on it became a problem for the whole world. So they have a moral obligation to say to curb this down. And on the other side, if I take the example of Ukraine-Russia war as well, on the Israel-Gaza war, we know that the big amount of money is being paid to Ukraine and big amount of money is being paid to Israel also. They are killing so many people, but nobody is bothered. And in the UN also, because they do the veto if you bring any resolution against this nation who have been indiscriminately killing the people, but still the veto will come out and it will be stopped. So no action can be taken against any nation. So now the difference between a nation and the terrorist organization is very blur. Terrorists are killing if 20,000, then nations are also killing 70,000. So who are supporting this nation have the obligation to stop this. They have the moral responsibility to stop this. Otherwise, the refugees are coming to Asia also, but most of the refugees are coming to their country. So now they don't want to accept them. Now they are making policies to send them back. One sided, they are the reason of it, and on the other side, they don't want to pay money for it. That's the issue.
Good morning, Harish.
Good morning.
I'd like to ask you how a developing country like India can make balance between accommodating refugees and also in the natural resources which we lack sometimes.
See, India has already managed many refugees for many years. The problem is that what I said, there should be a global refugee fund where every country contributes according to their capacity. When this fund is created, then you can settle them anywhere where the places there is in this world also where nobody lives. You can settle them there as well. If India has to settle them anywhere in this country, the money has to be come out from this refugee fund. So India can tackle this. Main problem is that whenever you do not have the money to pay for it, that is why you don't want to entertain the refugees. You want to send them, okay, it will be a burden or our resources. So if the resources is being provided, then we can still settle them. And we have done. We have a history. We have already done.
Okay, good morning, Harish. My question is what lessons can be learned from comparing climate migration in different regions of the world?
See, industrial revolution has caused what it caused. Everybody knows that. But now, developing nations are going on to that same track, but because they claim that okay, we have the right to become developed. Yes, they have the right to develop, but The problem is with the developed nation. Still, they have not stopped that emitting this emissions, because one side what I said, that this world is become a very hypocrite. One sided you are supporting this war, and this bombs and this are causing a lot of emissions, and on the other side we are doing these COPE meetings to stop the environmental loss. So that in that side it becomes a responsibility of them as well.